Welcome to The Real with Joe Clark, the podcast where history's darkest corners are lit by the glow of truth. We go back, way back, to uncover the stories buried beneath time, silence, and fear. Today's episode takes us to a forgotten part of Clay County, Kentucky, a place called Urban, a quiet, rural, close-knit community. But in 1955, this peaceful Appalachian community was rocked to its core. 4 adult siblings, all gunned down inside their home, shot in the head, no signs of a struggle, no clear motive, just 4 cold bodies and a trail that would grow colder with every passing year. This is the story of the Smith family murders, a case that shocked the county but never found closure. It was Thursday afternoon, March 3rd, 1955. Chris Smith had just returned home to Little Goose Creek after a trip to Manchester, Kentucky. What he walked into was the stuff of nightmares. Inside his cabin, Chris found the bodies of his 4 adult children, Leonard, George, Chester, and Venice Burns Smith, all adults, ages 25 to 39, all dead, all shot in the head with what authorities believed was an automatic shotgun. 2 of the siblings, George and Venice, were sitting at the kitchen table, plates in front of them, a meal untouched. The other 2 brothers were in the bedroom, one seated on the bed, the other slumped over a bench. It was methodical, almost ritualistic. There were no signs of a break-in or a struggle. Somewhere between noon and 2:30 p.m., someone ended 4 lives in cold blood. Almost immediately, suspicion fell on 2 local men, Walter Cupp and Reuben Hibbard, both from the nearby community of Portersburg, Kentucky. Hibbard, notably, was the Smith family's brother-in-law. Troy Smith, the victim's younger brother, told investigators that both men were present at the Smith home that morning. They were drinking, talking, when he left around 10 a.m. Later that day, a passerby saw both men leaving the area shortly before the bodies were discovered. Hibbard gave a detailed statement to police. He said he had been at the house for about 4 hours, but he left before any violence occurred, and he warned Chris Smith on the road that trouble may be brewing. Cupp, on the other hand, refused to say anything at all. What followed was a legal whirlwind. First, the examining trial. Courtrooms were packed. Over 1,000 people tried to squeeze into the Clay County, Kentucky courthouse. The case gripped the entire region. In May, both men were indicted on 4 counts of murder. But right before Cupp's trial for the murder of Venice Smith began, the Commonwealth attorney suddenly dropped all charges against Hibbard, saying that no real evidence connected him to the killings. Instead, Hibbard would become the star witness against Cupp. Cupp stood trial for Venice's murder. Witnesses included Chris and Troy Smith, 2 schoolgirls who saw Cupp near the home, and Hibbard himself. The prosecution painted a disturbing motive, that Cupp wanted a sexual relationship with Venice. But inconsistencies in the testimonies clouded the trial. Even the prosecutor's own witnesses seemed unreliable at times. The jury could not agree. A mistrial was declared. By September 1955, Cupp stood trial again, this time for the murder of George Smith. A jury from another county was brought in due to the case's notoriety. Witnesses returned. New ones testified. A woman named Ida Mae Binge broke down on the stand, claiming she saw Cupp leaving the home that evening. But once again, the jury did not convict. Another acquittal. Cupp still faced 2 more murder charges, and in October he was tried for Leonard Smith's murder. This time, a man named Earl Gregory came forward, saying Cupp admitted to trouble with the Smiths the day of the murders. Still, a third acquittal. In the courtroom, the judge, Billy Dixon, looked Cupp dead in the eye and said, quote, "I don't know if any jury will ever point the finger of guilty at the person who committed this heinous crime, but there is an all-seeing, ever-present God waiting to render judgment." Unquote. Strong words, but no conviction. Cupp was never retried for the remaining 2 murders. No one else was ever charged. The father, Chris Smith, lived with unending fear. He told reporters he couldn't bear to return to his home, that he feared more killings, that he left justice in the hands of the Lord. And so the case faded. Faded from public memory, from newspaper headlines, from history. That is, until now. This case is many things: brutal, tragic, bizarre, but above all, it's unresolved. A family wiped out, a father broken, a community stunned, and no justice served. Were the inconsistencies in testimony enough to derail the case? Was justice really done in those courtrooms? Or did Clay County let a killer walk free? We may never know the answer to those questions, because in the hills of Kentucky, stories like these aren't always buried, but they sure get quiet. Thanks for joining me on The Real with Joe Clark. If this story moved you, unsettled you, or left you with questions, great. These cases deserve more than just dust and silence. If you have a family story, a strange tale, or a local crime lost to time, send it my way, because around here, history isn't just a chapter, it's still alive. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and stay real.